In first cut. Golly! Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your recap episode for this week's PGA Championship. A new winner has been crowned, and a new first-time major winner. Joining me to break it all down for tonight, Greg DuCharme is here. Greg, hey, buddy.
What a week, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Just incredible stuff on Sunday, and really, really cool story. I'm looking forward to talking about it tonight.
Patrick McDonald is here. Patrick, we will not spoil it just yet, but maybe we retire one of our favorite bits on the show. What do you think?
Potentially.
I think that he was so afraid.
Is Rick crowding out? Or is that just me? Yeah, I'll just say the clothesline is out, and there's articles of clothing hanging on it, fully dry.
All
right. Rick, we got you.
I see you moving, Rick.
Is that my internet? Is that my internet that's going out, or your guys?
I'm thinking it's yours.
I think it's yours.
I'm thinking it. Well, it's not mine. It's a PGA of America's, but it is Mark Immelman here. Hello, Mark.
Hi, boys. Hey, where are the doctors now? All of a sudden, Xander putted his way to a major championship, including making a clutch one on the last. It was a weird week. It was a very cool week in the end, and I think the right champion, to be very honest with you.
Yeah, well deserved. We will discuss his round. Before we do that, let's do the sad stuff first. Let's get this out of the way. If you looked at the Vegas odds, if you looked at what we talked about last night, the leaderboard, there were kind of three groups that were likely to provide the winner in no particular order. They were Xander Schauffele, Collin Morikawa. They were Sahith. They were Shane Lowry. It was also then Viktor Hovland and Bryson DeChambeau. Mark Immelman, you were with that middle group, the Lowry Theegala group. They did not necessarily end up contending or vying for this on Sunday.
No, they didn't. I was actually walking up the 18th fairway with Shane Lowry, and I was like, man, the air came out the balloon some. And then he was sort of lamenting his stretch of holes where it was 7 the par 5, and then 8 the par 3 where he three-putted. Then 9 and 10, he didn't make a birdie on the par 5. But the truth is, I mean, Sahith got off to that fantastic start with a long birdie bomb on 1. But Lowry, he had the best warm-up. He flushed it the whole time. He sticks one in there tight, does not convert on the first, and then made a couple good birdies on 3 or 4. But then a huge miss club out the middle of the fairway on 5, hits it through the back, makes a wonderful save, and then par 7, and then with 4-wood, forgive me, doesn't carry a 3-wood, 4-wood into the par 5, 7th. Just absolutely nuts one through the back. And he was hot around his Irish collar. Made a great 5 in the end. But that sort of set the wheels in motion for the both of them really struggling. And so it was a quiet back 9 for me. I just walked along and watched these two guys. They were basically the decoration on the trees because the other guys were going bananas. I mean, the vibe really, because I had Bryson and Viktor in front of me and Xander behind me. The vibe around our group was crazy. It's just my crowd was very, very quiet.
Yeah, the Louisville fans showed out on all week long, but Saturday and Sunday it was crowded. It was crowded. It was packed. They were passionate. They did not have a lot to cheer for, Patrick, for that Collin Morikawa character going for his 3rd major championship in his 18th career start. I'm looking at the scorecard. I am searching very hard for circles, and I cannot find one until the final hole of the day to set him back to even par 71. He was out of it early, and he got kind of run over by the rest of the guys at the top.
Yeah, I was pretty bummed with his performance. I thought the par save on number 2 after hitting it left, hitting a lob wedge there in tight, saving par there, I thought that kind of would get him going in the right direction. But it was kind of similar to that front 9 at Augusta before number 9, at least, where he hit a lot of quality shots, but the putts just were burning edges time and time again. I mean, number 4, he missed a really good chance. Number 7 hits it to 5 feet, kind of tricky putt there, doesn't cash in, and Xander cashes in ahead of him, and it kind of just it was really the putter, right? He led the field today in greens and regulation. I know the approach numbers weren't fantastic, but he hit 16 out of 18 greens, and he lost almost 4 strokes on the greens. So that was really the name of the game. When you get a major championship record scoring type of week, and you're losing 4 strokes putting, you're going to get run over.
Was this surprising, Greg? Was Colin Morikawa the likely candidate to kind of disappear on Sunday?
No, he certainly wasn't. Look, the round that he played wasn't really all that far off from being a great round. As Patrick alluded to it, the misses on 4 and 7, if he converts there, that gets it. That could completely change the momentum of this tournament, completely change the momentum of this round. And all of a sudden, one long putt, 120-footer goes down, and he's able to give a big fist pump and feel like he's in it. That changes the whole back 9. All of a sudden 10 is a great opportunity. 9's a great opportunity. And these all go begging. He's just playing from, as Paul McGinley would say, playing on the back foot. And that was a little bit disappointing for him. But I can't imagine that his game plan and the execution of that game plan were too dissimilar. I think he hit a lot of quality shots and just could not get one to go. And you need momentum on a day like this, right? You're not going to just make easy birdies aren't out there. You got to hold a putt. Everybody near the top of the leaderboard hold a lot of putts, and Morikawa wasn't able to do it.
Rick?
Well, that's all I have to say on that. But it seems like Rick is frozen. It seems like we have lost him.
But you know what, Greg, what I do want to say, Rick asked you the question about if Colin Morikawa was the guy who was likely to disappear. Not really. And I will say this to you. I think him reconnecting with Rick Sessinghaus has been a bit of a stroke of genius. And if you look at the last few groups there today, you had Colin Morikawa back with his longtime coach, Rick, his childhood coach. You had Victor Hovland going back to Joe Mayo, and that worked out a charm because he couldn't find the club face or the golf course for a few months, so much so he was considering withdrawing from certain events, especially this PGA Championship. And then I had Sahith Theegala, who is still to this day has Rick Hunter as his longtime coach. So you're seeing all of these guys sort of going to their people who sort of know them intimately, if you will. And Colin had been searching. He really had been searching. And I feel like it's almost like, because he and Rick are now newly back together, it's almost like he's back in the saddle, now under pressure in the final group, which is a different challenge. It's just a question now of him just trusting the thing a little bit more. But I feel like in as much as what he'll be aggro that he didn't really play very well today, he'll be buoyant at the fact that he contended in a major championship as he was getting back to kind of who he was as a player when he was winning stuff all over the show.
It's always easier to go back to something that you've done, especially for a long time. Going back home is a whole lot more familiar, a whole lot easier to trust than going somewhere new. And when you start going somewhere new, that takes even more time to trust. But I think what you saw at Hovland and Morikawa is, hey, going back to something you believe in, something that works, something that feels familiar, it can click a whole lot quicker. So yeah, and I think we did see a lot of that with Morikawa's ball striking. Although it wasn't his best, I think it was adequate.
Yeah, he just needed one of those putts to fall from really that 8 to 15-ish range, and it just never happened for him. It had to be super frustrating, especially after that Masters too, where the first 8 holes he was holding his own with Scottie Scheffler, but he had chances at Augusta National, multiple, to take the lead from him, and it never happened. Shall we get to that third group out? That Victor Hovland, that Bryson DeChambeau? Oh my goodness. Shall we get to Rick Gehman back in the chair, aka producer Josh Mullinex? Oh,
no. We don't hear you.
Hit us with the Euro step. Oh no, I don't know if it's gonna work.
I don't know
We got
either.
you now.
Test.
There he is, our
welcome
faithful leader.
Okay, producer Josh is fixing me up here. We're getting
Oh, you got
rocking
a
and rolling.
mic.
Yes,
Okay.
we've
We can hear you. You're moving.
We're just talking about going back to X's.
Thank you.
I sent a couple texts last night with Victor Hovland and Colin Morikawa in mix in contention. I figured if it's working for them, maybe it'll work for me.
Beautiful. Here's what we're going to do. We are going to continue this conversation. We are going to rock on. Josh is going to reach over me, and he is going to tell us a word from our partners.
We need your sports news anywhere.
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
And we're back. Let's focus on that third to last group. That's the Bryson DeChambeau, Victor Hovland group. Greg, Victor Hovland and Bryson DeChambeau seem to draft off one another all day long. They were both on fire.
It was very similar, very reminiscent to what we saw out of Shane Lowry and Justin Rose the previous day on Saturday. For Victor Hovland, it's birdies at 5, 6, 7, which really get him in the mix after a little bit of a slow start, unable to capitalize on some birdies. And you're thinking, okay, maybe he's lagging a little bit behind. And all of a sudden he gets himself right back in the mix. And around that point, he really found his golf swing. He hit some pulls early. He seemed to get that straightened out. And he was just going right at every single flag. It was vintage, especially on the back nine. Like the shot into number 12, right of that right hole location was just ridiculous. And that was vintage Victor Hovland, which was just great to see again.
Yeah, Mark, what I saw was a lot of confidence, a lot of the ability to take on shots that he might not have been comfortable with to start 2024 after coming off one of the best seasons we've seen from him.
Yeah, certainly. I was lucky to call the two of them on Saturday afternoon, and a couple of things jumped out. First off, Bryson's power it's a separator. Look, Rory's powerful off the tee, but Bryson's power is just different. And he sort of cruises to the tune of about 330 yards, where Rory, that's him not kind of full speed, but it's 90% or so. When Bryson decides to hit one, he's got a little something extra. So on a soft golf course like this, that's a weapon. I felt like on Saturday, he actually didn't play very well for 5 or 6 under or whatever he shot, because I thought the wedge game was kind of substandard given where he'd driven the ball. And he didn't hold out very well either. And so in the team meeting this morning, I was like, if he just makes any number of putts inside of 10 feet and is okay with the wedges, he's going to be a factor. And it's amazing to me, and you were out there, Rick, kind of the crowds were in behind this guy because he is a fascinating and entertaining watch. And as soon as he gets going and the crowds get behind him, then that lifts a very emotional guy anyway. And then as it pertains to Victor, I mean, I referenced it earlier when you were offline for a bit. That move back to Joe Mayo has been a stroke of genius, if you will. And if I'm Joe Mayo, I'm like, dude, just send a check over this way right now because what they did was magnificent. When I watched the warm-up Saturday, he was hitting a selection of balls, and he was hitting 3-irons. They were like frozen ropes, man. And I sort of looked at him, and I smiled, and he smiled, and I looked at Shane Knight, his caddy, and I'm like, the ball's not bending very much. And he goes, no, not at all. Everything was flying very straight, perhaps wanting to drip to the right-hand side, but there were very few left misses. Now, I did see, I had the group in front of them, behind them, I should say. There were 1 or 2 left misses with irons today, but at least it wasn't a two-sided thing. So he had something that he could play. And as far as Victor is now concerned, I'm like, you can just throw these last few months where he was kind of missing in the wilderness, if you will, you can throw them out the window because now this is a new Victor. And this guy looked for real today, and he looked like he had a real shot to win this tournament after being MIA for about 2 months.
Yeah, there was a long time
Patrick, as we were walking with this group, we walked a lot with this group on the second night. It felt like the winner was going to come out of this group. The couple of big moments here. Let's focus on Bryson. Bryson makes birdie on 10. He makes birdie on 13, and then he yanks one left on 16. And I don't know how much this came across on the broadcast. This thing was 40 yards left. It was gonzo, smacks a tree hard, loud, kicks right back out in the fairway, and the golf gods allow him to hit one to like 3 feet, and he knocks it in for birdie. A gigantic break there.
Yeah, that shot, 230, 8-iron, chirping at it, kind of awkward club twirl. 3 feet was awesome. It was awesome. And I know the crowd out there was cheering for Bryson DeChambeau to win. And we talked last night about how he feeds off the crowd, right? He's the ultimate showman. But I think he also feeds off having the chance to hit driver as well. And he was handcuffed a couple times, right? There's certain holes out there at Valhalla where he just can't hit driver. Even on Thursday, he did hit driver on number 12. He went down below, carried it over the fairway, learned his lesson, obviously. But you saw that all his best approach shots came following a driver, because there are some really sloppy iron shots intertwined in there. 12 was not a good shot. He hit one deep. He was flaring that fairway wood, whatever it is, a 3 or 5 wood. I think he has them both. He was flaring that out to the right all day long. And what was it, on 15? He had a great bunker shot there to get up and down. His short game was unbelievable today. Even into the par 3 14th, he got up and down there too. And so I think just being able to hit driver for him gave him so much more like confidence and adrenaline combined with the crowd and everything. And the one on 16 was awesome, just to step onto that. And then obviously we know what happened on 18 to drip that one over the edge, which was a brilliant second shot, by the way, from that fairway bunker.
Yeah, a couple of quick observations about the clubs, because I talked to him Saturday about them. And he said, no, these irons, this is just the first iteration. He goes, they're coming out better, and we're working on making them more reliable. Now, look, we all know that his 8-iron is it's almost a 6-iron in the amount of degrees and the loft it has on the face. So everything is beefed up, but that almost allows him to play a bit more offense with those irons. And then the 3-wood and the 5-wood he has, where everything else he hits is kind of this tumbly draw. Those are real spinny, and they climb up in the air to me, which is strange as well. So as far as he is going and him always tinkering with equipment, I feel like there is some more advance that he can do with the irons and certainly those 2 fairway metals. And just to that bounce, I don't know what you guys thought, but when I saw the footage of it on replay, this to me smacked of Tiger Woods back in the playoff against Bob Morgan a minute ago. We drilled it way left, and the next thing the ball's running down the cart path into play. It was almost eerie how that thing came out of the trees like it did.
The rumor was that Patrick had knocked it back out. Was atop the trees, and
that's why I was wondering. Eddie's boys out there, his Ripper boys that were helping out.
Yeah, Ripper, Crusher, the whole lot.
I was impressed very much this week, Greg, with Bryson DeChambeau. He is someone that I thought was going to play pretty well at Augusta National, and I think that this is certainly a better setup for him. PGA Championships and U.S. Opens, and even the creativity. His ability to get up and down green side on 18. We were right there. It was a downhill lie. It wasn't great. He gave himself a birdie look, and then he pours it in, which essentially not only forces the hand of Xander, knowing that 20 under is now in, but it forces the hand of Victor Hovland, and how Hovland's putt is, he has to make it to at least get into a playoff.
Right, and I think the pressure may have gotten to Victor a little bit there. It didn't look like he hit his best putt. But Rick, I think what you bring up with Bryson's short game is right on point. I mean, look at some of these numbers for the week. They're kind of staggering. He gains five strokes around the green. He's 18 of 20 scrambling, 6 of 6 from the bunker. These are kind of the issues that cost him a chance to win the Masters, right? It was all short game and all putting. And this week, that area was significantly improved, especially with the wedge play. Perhaps there's something to the wedge play being out of the rough. Perhaps there's an advantage for him there, as he did win at Winged Foot, which also has greens surrounded by thick rough rather than runoff areas. So that's just a food for thought, heading into the future. But boy, this was a really impressive performance with him, and the drives were ridiculous. Like being able to take 1 and 2 and cut the corner on those holes. You can't really cut the corner. He did. That was a big separator. But I think the short game is still the thing that stood out most to me.
Can we just also identify the fact, or at least respect the fact, that Bryson has certainly changed his sort of relationship with the fans and his attitude to the fans and the media too, because he's engaging now and he's pumping it up, and it's almost like he's playing to the crowds, where previously he almost had an adversarial relationship with competition and with media and such, and he was sort of misunderstood. Now he just belongs on a stage, man, and the stage today was almost made for him, and it almost turned out very well too.
He's a content creator.
Yeah, true.
At heart, honestly, I thought he was treating it like after an NFL player scored a touchdown and they look for the camera and they do their celebrations. That was literally Bryson DeChambeau this weekend on 18 yesterday. He turns to the camera, goes, "Let's go." I thought it was going to be like swipe up, subscribe, comment below what you guys want to see.
Smash the like button.
So I will have to go back and look, but when he made the birdie putt on 16 after hitting the tree, he looked back and he either blew the tree a kiss, or he bowed to it. I couldn't tell which one that he did, but he did something like that as well. It's next level.
He's awesome. He is awesome.
I will also say I think he's just now much more comfortable in his own skin. I think he's I think before he was kind of a different type of guy and he would get crap for that. I think he doesn't care what other people think anymore. And behind Scotty Schauffele, I think he was probably the second most popular golfer here this week. Quite
Can we also admit that he looks way better in a baseball cap than that stupid other thing he used to wear?
No.
Yeah.
I loved the Hogan cap.
No.
Come on.
No, the Crusher cap is actually pretty cool.
And the old logo of him in a Hogan cap. I miss that.
Hoganception. The other thing is he looks much better now that he's fit instead of fat. I'll just say it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's not puffy.
Yeah, he's not puffy anymore. Greg, we'll put a bow on Victor Hovland here. So he made his last birdie on 13. And if I remember correctly, he had birdie putts on 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. The one on 17 was probably the one that he really needed. I think it was inside of 8 feet. The putter did go cold on him at the end. Then he misses the birdie putt on 18. And then once the result of the championship is over, he, misses a shorty for par there. So it's a pretty ugly finish.
17 was 9 feet 8 inches. He did have a good look at 16 too. I mean, geez, he had a great shot in there. After Bryson stuffed it, he hit it right over the flag. Granted, it was 25 feet long, so you don't give him too much slack for missing it, but he had 17 feet at 15 as well. He was dialed in with his approach play, and he just needed what happened earlier in the round. He putted really well earlier in the round, and all of a sudden it went ice cold at the wrong time. And what's such a killer is you need, if he just gets one of those at 15, 16, or 17, he goes to 18 with a totally new perspective. And I kind of thought that was going to happen, and it just unfortunately didn't for him. But all in all, considering where Victor has come from, I do believe this is a huge win for him this week.
Yeah, big time improvement, and by far the best result of his calendar year. We are going to talk about the champ. He has entered the club of major champions. We will do that and much more after a quick word from our partners.
At CBS Sports Golazo Network, we're bringing you the game.
Madness of Messi arrives!
Breaking down the game.
This is unlike anything else in the world.
And changing the game.
Get it all for nil.
That means free.
Whoa.
And all day long!
24/7.
And we're back. Gentlemen, here, the birdies were flying. We talked about Victor. We talked about Bryson, the man who had either all or a share of the lead after each round is Xander Schauffele. Now, he was tied with Collin Morikawa at 15 under par going into the final rounds. We've already talked about Collin and his struggles. That opening 9, though, Patrick, was 4 under 31 for Xander Schauffele. A very good start while he needs to answer questions, right? You've been on this show calling him wet socks for a year, and he needed to put that to bed today.
He needed to put the clothesline out, get the pins out, throw them up, let the wind, let the weather do its work, and talk about an ideal start. 27 feet on number 1. Immediately kind of jab Morikawa, a little body shot there, and then he tacks one on 4 as well. But I think the par putt on 6 was really big, in my opinion. He was in the exact same position Bryson DeChambeau was. We saw Bryson DeChambeau make that putt. Schauffele does far worse than that. Leaves himself, I believe, outside 12 feet. I think it was about 14 feet. And he knocks that one in. And those were the putts that he just wasn't converting when he was in contention so far this year, right? Those high leverage 7 to 15 footers that you got to make to either keep the momentum rolling or to keep up with whoever's ahead of you. And he made a ton of those today. It felt like he made just about all of them except for one. And that's why, he had a great front 9 there with that one. After 9, I think he pushed it to 2. And it was like, okay, he can push this out to 3 if he gets one on 10 as well. But I think Trevor, Mark Immelman's brother, hit the nail on the head on the par 5 with the decision for the second shot. I thought it was peculiar as well. I don't know about you guys.
That was fairway wood out of the fairway bunker. Is that right?
Yeah. It kind of left him in like no man's land almost.
Yeah. So we were just in 12 fairway while he was doing that. So 10 was right across the way. And Mark, this was the moment that we were very curious about. So he makes a fairly ugly bogey at 10 while both Bryson and Victor Hovland are putting on their birdie run. What was most impressive to me is, yes, Xander makes bogey on 10, but he gets birdies on both 11 and 12, the immediate bounce back.
Well, that's the thing. To me, he answered the call on just about every question that was posed to him. And Patrick highlighted the save on 6, which was big. I feel like the birdie on 9 was pretty clutch as well. And the play on 10, I mean, I feel where Trevor's going and Frank as well. But the way that hole sets up, Xander likes to draw the ball. And the way the fairway shapes, it sort of wanders left and then everything tilts to the right-hand side. The environment that Rory used to feed the ball down there with that neck 3 would hit back in 5 would hit back in 14. It rolled up to the green and he made 3. The whole location, strangely, was in a very similar place to 14 when Rory made the eagle there. So I'm seeing how Xander, who's probably feeling it, can go, well, I can sting something down the left-hand side here, maybe get it on the fairway and roll it up to the green. It was just, it's always hard to hit something out of a fairway bunker off an uneven lie. And that's probably where things gave in. So you can question the decision, and then you can question the short putt he missed. But the truth is, he backed up the mistake. The iron shot he hit on 11 was sexy. And then to make the putt on the top of that was awesome. And then to turn around and sting one in there on 12. I mean, that flag, the way the green sits to the fairway, the green is tiny. And it sits at an angle. So anything on the right-hand side, it's, a good another 10, maybe even 15 yards worth of carry. And we saw so many players miss the ball in that bunker. Not Xander. Absolutely pins one over the bunker there, right at that hole location, and makes 3. And this is when I said to my on-course guy, Craig, I was like, the dude's legit. I mean, I'd been saying he's going to hang on to this thing, and after seeing those 2 bounce backs, I was like, all right, this is essentially his to lose, in my opinion.
When Xander Schauffele stepped on the 72nd hole of a major championship, Greg. He knew exactly what he had to do. He had already put on a show, making birdies all over the yard, and one more would give him the PGA championship. He drives it left where his ball stays out of the bunker, but he has to stay in it, and pressure is heavily applied.
Yes, that is an understatement. I mean, it's a very comparable in a lot of ways decision process to number 10. With one big exception, there's time after this one. When you're at 10, there's no time at 18. There's no time for a second. And so he goes with the decision to press it up there as far as he can with a club that he feels like he can get on it. And this is modern golf. This is what the analytics tell you to do. You press it up there as far as you can. It leaves a much easier opportunity for you to get it up and down. And he aimed to the right-hand side of the bunker that's in the center of the green. And they didn't have shot tracer on this one, probably because of the lie. He started it. You could see the ball start to the right side. I almost thought he was going up the right of the split fairway.
So did
and
we,
all
Greg.
Of a sudden, that's what it looked like. And all of a sudden it ends up over much closer to where Bryson was, except in the fairway, a little bit shorter, lower down the hill. And it's the perfect spot. So what a gutsy shot. What a gutsy shot from, I'm worried about the water with that kind of lie. This is like a top kind of lie, she chunks it kind of lie. And boy, he didn't do that.
In many respects, Greg, it was almost similar in a way to the second shot down 10. And I would almost indicate that because this is 4-iron, you got the thing above your feet, you're in the bunker, so your footing is unstable. That 4-iron with the heel of the thing, if he lands early, he's snap hooking it into the crowds on the left, or if he fans one, you're right, the thing's in the water. And so in terms of degree of difficulty, I would say that one on 18 was harder than the one bag on 10. And he stood up there and absolutely delivered. That was majestic.
And I was talking about bounce backs. He got kind of boned on 17, not carrying that bunker, and his tee shot finding the fairway bunker. It was maybe like a foot. And to get up and down to give himself a chance for that birdie, then he gets boned again off the tee. To bounce back from that, have the mental fortitude, kind of that fighting power that I feel like we haven't really seen a whole lot up until this week. And to do that, it was the missing link for Xander Schauffele.
So Xander dry socks now, right?
Yeah, well, I'm crafting it. Killing me Schauffele, maybe.
If you liked that display, Patrick, then you'll love him having to get up and down from that spot to win the PGA championship. He took a long time. He walked up there. He figured it out. He gave himself 5 feet, something like that, for birdie. He didn't pour it in, Patrick. I would not say he poured it in, but it did find the bottom of the cup. 2 hands to the sky, relief, excitement, emotion. Xander Schauffele becomes your 2024 PGA champion.
Middle of the bottom, Rick. That's all that matters. Middle of the bottom. And look, consistency precedes greatness. It's a great quote, and it's super true in the case of Xander Schauffele, putting himself in the mix time and time again. Heartbreak. This tournament was going to end one of 2 ways. It was going to be the greatest victory of Xander Schauffele's career, or the biggest heartbreak of Xander Schauffele's career.
Yeah, it was going to be awesome.
And that's sports. That's what makes sports awesome. It's the price of admissions for these guys to go into the arena. You have to run the risk of potentially looking like a fool and getting your heart broken. And Xander has gotten his heart broken a number of times, and it finally went his way. The ball finally lipped in for him, and it's well deserved. He has been the second best player in the world so far this season. And so now the first 2 majors have gone to the top 2 players in the world.
Well, now he is going to be the number 2 player in the world when he wakes up on Monday morning, because he'll move to number 2 in the official world golf rankings. Greg, here is the thing. We have spent a long time wondering if Xander could close golf tournaments at the rate that an elite player should close golf tournaments. I am glad that when that answer came, it came definitively. It was not someone faltering and Xander there to catch the trophy. This was go out and shoot a Sunday 65 at Valhalla and make a birdie when you know you have to make a birdie, and make a putt when you know you have to make a putt, and let me prove it to you that way.
Oh, and one other thing to add to this, we've also talked about this. Can you win with the lead? Yes, he wins wire to wire, no ties. Legit wire to wire. That is awesome. He answered every single question we have. He knocked off a major. He wins wire to wire. So he's playing with a lead the whole time. He goes out and plays a great round on Sunday with the lead, like you mentioned, Rick. He answers all the questions. And think about how many great players there are in history to never win a major. I mean, you think about the careers of a Colin Montgomery and a Lee Westwood and a Paul Casey, and there are so many that I'm not even mentioning that you always felt like would win a major and never did. And Xander was getting pretty close to that kind of precipice. I know he's a lot younger, but that pressure starts to weigh. It starts to mount the way the Masters has for Rory McIlroy, and it just gets heavier and heavier and heavier. And Xander just stays persistent. He continues to work on exactly what he's working on, which is a swing change this year, by the way. Still the second best player in the world going through a swing change. And all of a sudden he's too good to fail. That's what I was thinking of today. Like the book, Too Big to Fail. Xander Schauffele is too good to fail. And he gets it done today. I was so proud and moved by the way he did it.
Hey, real quick, Rick, maybe this is a rant. Maybe this is the former golf instructor, recovering golf instructor, and me who's now airing out his laundry a little bit. But I feel like us in the media and the fans and stuff are just so quick to kind of judge a player. And it's such a 24-hour news cycle. And one guy comes short a few times, and all of a sudden we're labeling the guy a failure. Where, yes, Xander, who has been a tremendous player his entire career, everybody on the tour rates the guy highly, but he just doesn't win as much as what he's supposed to. Now, according to the rest of us, like, well, he can't close. He closed today, and he closed emphatically. I mean, he put an exclamation point on this PGA Championship, because think about this for a second. He's got all cameras coming after him, and then he shoots a final round like that, birdieing the last, hitting just 4 quality shots up there. And this was the guy that just earlier this week, a number of folks were going, he's going to find a way to choke it away. Isn't it crazy? And it's just, we got to be so careful with how quick we are to label a player, because Xander Schauffele is top quality. And now we just got to be careful not to go, okay, when's he going to win again? Let's just let him enjoy this thing, keep working on it, and then see where the chips fall as he ventures further into what's supposed to be a really good career.
No, Mark, the second half of that, we got to stay away. When is he going to win again? I'm already asking that. Is this floodgate? Yeah. I want to know now. Okay.
Does he get to 2 before JT gets to 3? What are we doing here, right?
I'd probably say yes to that one. And then you can call up Kyle and tell him to pay his bet, for Pete's sake.
28. This is his 28th major championship. He has 13 top 10s, 7 top 5s. That's a quarter of them. And now a victory. Patrick, this enters you into a different level. You are now a major champion. It's a different club. It's an exclusive club, and it's a club that comes with a lot of responsibility and a lot of expectation. So as much as we say these questions are over, they're just going to be different questions now, right? It's going to be validating it with a second win and all that fun stuff. But that is the gift and the curse that comes with being a major champion.
Yeah, it is. And I think, I mean, you look at first-time winners last year. We had Wyndham Clark, who's in the prime of his career, and then we have Brian Harman. And you look kind of at the difference in how those conversations are going, right? Brian Harman, he's been a great player his entire career, has won a few times. He went nuts there at Liverpool, made everything, blitzed the field, was fantastic. He's a major winner now. But that's just such a far conversation than what we're going to have with Xander Schauffele, because in the prime of his career, like Mark said, everyone on the PGA Tour, when you ask players like who is like the guy, it is absurd how many of them say Xander Schauffele. Like he is the most well-rounded player in the world right now when it comes to the skill set. He does not have a flaw in his game, and now he's super long as well with the added speed. And so, is it a floodgate situation? I know Mark doesn't want to talk about it, but you look at his history in major championships and just how well-rounded his game is, and you would just have to imagine he's just going to continue to put himself in position time and time and time again. But I hope he enjoys this one, Mark.
Yeah, that's well said. That he'll put himself in position. Let's settle down with the floodgates thing. It's Sunday evening after his first victory. let's give this some time to percolate.
Patrick, on your point of how guys rate him, I was thinking about this today. You go back to when Phil Mickelson won at Kiowa, and he was talking about his preparation and all the work that went into it. And the guy that he played with who set the standard for him was Xander Schauffele. Because Xander Schauffele would go out and shoot 61 and make 11 birdies, make 8 birdies, make 9 birdies, time and time again. And that was the mark that Phil was trying to chase when he won the PGA at Kiowa. And so this isn't something that's new. This has been going on for quite a while. He is, I mean, he said in his press conference that Scotty Scheffler's, he's still a long way away from that, which I would agree with. But boy, he's a pretty good standard to catch too.
Xander Schauffele hasn't won a major championship in the last 2 hours. This guy totally stinks. So,
finish.
We'll have to keep an eye on that moving forward. Okay, gents, let's zoom out a little bit. A lot happened this week. We spent a lot of time talking about Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy and Brooks Koepka and everybody else who is on top of this leaderboard. Let's turn our attention to the golf course. Valhalla. Mark, we were out here. I want to get your thoughts on this course as a major championship test through your eyes.
Okay, first off, to deal with the number of fans that it had, you got to get more entrance roads to the place. Okay, I'll put the logistics of it aside, because when you got big events coming to courses like this, it has to be able to support the fans. And kudos to the Louisville fans, because they showed out en masse. I mean, I took a video from behind the green of the 18th, and it was cool because it was lined, 10 deep all the way to the tee. Folks were waiting on the tee for a potential playoff. You know, that's how far the fans stretched down the one side there. But as far as the course did, I think as a fan experience, it was tremendous because the 2 nines, they were sort of different and split. And over on the front side, there were lots of hills and places where people could stand and watch multiple holes. Through the back 9, in a funny way, holes like 15 even, I sort of got a Muirfield Village feel, you know, Jack Nicklaus's Muirfield Village. And then with the way all the sound filtered through the trees, it almost felt like Augusta National in a way, because the roars out there were really, really cool and the vibe was tremendous. In my opinion, as far as the golf course played, look, it's produced some incredible events so far. I mean, every major championship they've had here has been just an absolute barnstormer. From Kenny Perry blowing it way back in the day, and Mark Brooks winning in a playoff, and then Tiger and Bob May was epic, and then Rory winning in the dark was epic, and now this one was epic as well, and then of course the Ryder Cup. So look, it's a really good, it's a good golf course. I think it's a good test. It was ruined a bit by the weather this year, but then I also feel this, and this is just personal, for these guys at this level, you cannot give them Zoysia fairways to play off. I saw guys hitting chip shots that were spinning like tops hitting the green because the lies were just so good. You got to challenge these guys a little bit to have the ball settle down in Bermuda or bent or something like that, where they have to go and compress the ball out there. Because if you give them fairways like this, they're going to whip long irons and stuff off the top of that stuff like it's no one's business. So they could make this course 1,000 yards, and they were still likely to shoot the grass off the place. So I thought the course was great. I feel like Zoysia grass is tremendous. One day when I go to heaven, I hope they've got Zoysia fairways over there because I'm a picker of the golf ball. But for this crowd here, long golf course is one thing. You got to challenge them a bit with the lies on the fairways. But otherwise, I thought the course was good.
The fairways, they have a spring to them, which is something I don't feel often. It's interesting to have it underfoot. Greg, I'm not a big architecture guy. I can't look at a golf course and say this looks like it was fabricated or this was really well done because of X, Y, and Z. I agree with Mark that the test that it gives you because of the margins that are out there, it creates really good leaderboards. And I think most fans, that's what they care about. They care about really good leaderboards. I've never really heard a casual fan say, "Oh, well, it asks you the same question over and over and over again."
Yeah.
I never have either. I never have. So on that front, I mean, look, I think the golf course is a very good golf course. I'm not crazy about the split fairway on number 7. I think that's a little quirky if I'm going to pick at it. But really the picking is marginal. It's small. And if you're going to, criticize the scoring, but you just have to look at the weather. It's not very often you get hardly any wind. I mean, less than 10 miles an hour for the entire week with an extremely soft and saturated golf course where they hardly ever play it in rain. There was a lot of rain before the event. There was some rain at night. There was some rain on Friday morning, and that's it. And there is just no defending any golf course when it's soft and there's no wind.
Hey, one more thing, Rick. I don't know if you noticed. I'm not sure if the people noticed on television as well, but the greens here were small. I think the average size of the greens was like 5,000 square feet, and they all kind of sat on angles. So they played smaller, and you had to cover the ball certain distances. And you had to be very precise with cover and carry yardages. So if this place was firm, I don't feel like the scoring would have been anything like it was because the greens would have played a whole lot smaller. But all bets were off when we had the rain that it did. And even late this afternoon, it was still a freaking dartboard. Guys were stopping 5 irons there on the greens, where last week in Quail Hollow, it was like, you're landing the ball on an airplane runway. The balls were bouncing all over the show. So I feel like if this place was drier, they wouldn't have shot as low as what they did this week.
Yeah, Alejandro Tosti drove a 330-yard par 4 and got the ball to stick on it. So, and that was on
Spieth.
That was Sunday morning.
Too.
I know. What did he do? It was short, or was it right, or was it both?
It was a little short and left.
A little short and left. Okay, I saw that he went for it. Patrick, championship produced a great leaderboard. Is there anything else that you take away from the way it finished, or for the golf course this week? And if you were in charge, would we be coming back to Valhalla in the near future?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like you. I'm not necessarily in the architecture camp, and for those who are, you look at the major championship venues that have produced multiple rounds of 62. It was their gem, their magnus opus last year, LACC, which was everything right about golf, and Valhalla, which they were pooping on all week on the interwebs. So sorry, boys, you guys are in the same conversation now. Only 2 golf courses that have. I'm with Mark where it produces great leaderboards, great finishes time and time again. Is that because the question is the same, every single answer, and it's an execution test? Probably. But when I look back at major championships, I look back at the characters and the players who are involved. And I'm sorry that this test was more put your foot on the gas and see how deep you can go, and not necessarily one where someone like a Brooks Koepka would prefer where it's fairway, green, and let's see who's the last man standing. It was a little different test. And I think that's fine every now and again. Would I come back to Valhalla? Depends how much they're paying me. I don't know.
Okay. Well, that's good to know that Patrick is bribable indeed.
Yes. Yes.
It sounds to me like the true architect, the true one to determine how golf courses plays. That's Mother Nature, and she remains undefeated. Speaking of undefeated, we were the opposite of that in the bets for this week. There's a lot of red on this board. This will give us an opportunity to talk about a couple more golfers here. Thank you, Josh. Here is the grid for this week. Ofer for me and Greg. Rory McIlroy, Wyndham Clark, Scotty Scheffler, Brooks Koepka were the outrights. I'll tell you what, Greg. 3 of those, and we'll get to another one in a second. The big guns going into Saturday were all very, very live. And you were probably feeling pretty darn good about the big guns. None of them sniffed winning this golf tournament.
No, they did not. Man, I feel for Scotty Scheffler so much. That just one round puts you out of it. I would love to have seen how Sunday would have played out if Scotty was a factor. You know, if hear Xander Schauffele mention him in the post-round press conference was amazing. And it highlights the effect that he has on the leaderboard. And when he went through this crazy week and goes through Saturday without Ted Scott on the bag, I just wish I was as wise as Patrick and played him a top 20 route one.
I knew something was going to happen Friday morning.
Yeah. Yeah, I missed that. The crystal ball did not have him going to jail on Friday. Somehow. So I apologize.
He's a felon.
I apologize to everyone who followed me for that.
Allegedly a felon, not quite a felon yet. Also, apparently they'll be dropping charges next week if you believe things on the internet, which I believe these sources. The bets that you put together, Patrick, because you had your finger on the pulse here. That was Tommy Fleetwood over Patrick Cantlay, cash it. Scotty Scheffler, top 20, round 1, cash it. And even though it didn't come through, you did have Bryson DeChambeau at 28-1. You believed in the formerly beefy one. He finishes 1 shot behind Xander Schauffele.
Yeah, look, like I said last week, you let me get my eyes on these guys in person for a few days. Become a completely different man. The eye test is just super strong. We look at the one and done the last couple weeks, and you can see it. Math, the data backs it up. I will say I got very lucky with Tommy Fleetwood, Eagle on the par 5 18th to make the cut on Friday. Had a great round today as well. Cantlay, I don't know what's going on with him. Hopefully Xander starts rubbing off on him or something, because he needs to get it going here. Probably the extracurriculars, talking to Yasser too much. And then Bryson stunk. He played so good. Very happy for him. And then Neiman, I know he's only 25, but this is now major number 21 for him. Best finish is T16. If you're going to go and pout about not being in majors, I know he's in the Open. He's going to have to qualify for the U.S. Open, which if he does, very impressive. You got to back it up a little bit, I think. Mean Dean Burmeister, South African, played great this week. I need a little bit of Neiman on the major stage here shortly, I think.
Mean Dean finished T12. Just to put a note on some of those other guys, Joaquin Neiman, who in Patrick's words pouted, finished T39. Taylor Gooch finished T60 for the week. Of course, Bryson, the best live result, that was a solo second. I had Brooks Koepka to finish inside the top 10. He finished T26. Patrick had Scotty Scheffler to win. We already talked about that one. And then Greg, this is what I was alluding to. You took an offering that was big guns or the field. So you got Scheffler, Rory, and Koepka to beat the field again Saturday morning about 4 a.m. Awesome. Saturday morning about 6 a.m., not so good. Sunday afternoon about 7 p.m., very bad.
Yes. I was thinking after Thursday that it was all going right to my plan. Like these guys, Rory's at 5, Scotty's at 4, Brooks is at 4. They're going to make a move tomorrow.
Yeah.
Scotty does make a lot of moves on Friday, and he's still in the mix, and it just caught up with him. Brooks faltered. Rory played terrible on Friday. It seemed like one round really took these guys out of it. Rory also had so many chances on Saturday. He could have made like 8 birdies in a row. And I think he made 4 and then missed a couple of shorties. Hit it in the water a couple times in today's round. Rory was very close to going crazy during this tournament, and probably keeping up with these leaders. Although, because of the performance of Xander and Bryson and Victor, it's a lot harder to start doing some math. I was thinking with Scotty, oh, well, if he just, hit 3-wood at number 4 yesterday, he could have been right there. It's like, well, yeah, he also would have had to shoot like 61 today. So probably just not in the cards for those guys.
Yeah, didn't really mention it, but those 3 really did separate themselves. Xander Schauffele, 21 under, Bryson DeChambeau, 20, Victor at 18 with a bogey on 18, and then 15 under. So 3 shots clear from those guys. T23 was 11 shots back. So they really did open up quite a big gap. Gentlemen, one final thing to do here before we go, and that is to update the one and done. And it should be rather quick because 4 of us had the same golfer. That golfer is Brooks Koepka. The money earns mark was $113,962 for Brooksy.
Yeah, I've got to be honest with you. I wasn't on the pregame show, but when I was making this decision with Brooks, I kind of held my nose a little bit and just were like, okay, I'm going Brooks. Because it's like one of those things where you got to play the livers, the good ones, that is, in the major championships. And because I was wrestling with him and Rahm, thankfully I didn't go with Rahm because he was desperate this week. And so, yeah, a bit disappointing. He tried today, but I just didn't have it, surprisingly. I thought when I watched him in practice rounds, it looked like he was fairly sharp coming off the victory on the Live Tour, but he really just didn't have his best stuff.
He really did not have his best stuff, though it was better than my selection, Jon Rahm, who missed the cut, which we talked about on Friday as unacceptable. And now I am angry with Jon Rahm. The winner of the week. He's doing a very gracious wave. That was a very gracious hat tip. Yes, you're a true gentleman. Was Patrick, who selected Bryson DeChambeau, who earned him a cool $1,998,000. And for you, Patrick, we're just going to round it up to an even $2 million.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It was a little bit of an ode to Bryson there at Augusta National when he tipped the fake cap because he forgot the real cap was in his other hand. But great week from him. Mark, just blowing past you. Smell you later. Greg, I'm coming for you. You're lucky. You're lucky I didn't catch you this week. I'll just say that.
Objects in the mirror are closer than they appear.
Exactly.
Hey, I'd like an asterisk next to my name, please, because I didn't get to play in the first round because I misunderstood the rules.
There's always an asterisk next to your name, Mark.
Yeah, Mark, that is in
Mark,
perpetuity.
The Taylor Gooch of
I thought your name was Mark asterisk Immelman.
Yes. Now, I just asked Josh if we could give you an extra $2,000, Patrick, and he said no. So you're going to be stuck at 1,998 for this week, which moves you to $9,479,419 for the year. You are currently in second place. You are still behind Greg at 10.88. Mark is right in the middle at 8.3. Josh at 7.7. I am at 7.0, and I'm squinting. I'm looking down. Kyle is at $3.2 million, and we will get the updated run and done numbers. No, run your pool numbers.
Hey, is Kyle missed a few weeks putting picks in, or is that just bad play?
No.
He'd be better off missing picks.
He's been
He's
putting
in
picks in.
full on panic mode, Mark.
Yeah. I can see him.
Mode.
I can see him from here. He's researching next week's pick already, and it's he looks to be furiously going after it. Anything else, gents, before we get out of here on this PGA Championship Sunday?
On to Colonial, brand new golf course. Well, same golf course, brand new design. Looking forward to seeing it next week.
Colonial for the Charles Schwab Challenge. Victor Hovland has withdrawn. Wesley Bryan taking his spot. Wesley Bryan tweeted out that he is a suitable replacement, and I thought that was funny, so I retweeted it. And
YouTubers, all the rave.
Okay, so here's a question. Nelly Corda wins this week again. What's the chance of Scotty winning next week in Colonial?
He's going to be like the shortest odds you've ever seen in a golf tournament.
Probably
Well,
does
like
it
2-1, you think?
Yeah. I haven't seen the full field, but I'm going off what I remember. And now that Victor's out, he's going to be like 2-1.
Yeah.
It's going to be crazy.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was a WD from him as well.
Oh, don't even say that, Gregory.
There's a lot to sort out for him.
No, those Dallas guys, they love Colonial. Him and Spieth.
Yeah, but he's got to go to. He doesn't have to be in court. He doesn't have to be there on Tuesday.
No,
He doesn't have to be there. Just a lawyer.
He could go to prison.
If you think, sorry guys, I'm WD and I'll be in prison. If you think Scotty Scheffler, I doubt Scotty Scheffler is even still in Louisville. I think he's probably out of here already. No chance he's here.
No, he's at 35,000 feet with a bear in his hand, going west.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And he's never returned to Kentucky ever again. All right, gents, we are going to do. I won't. It might be a little bit different next week. We're traveling back, but we're going to rock a Monday pod that will be on CBS Sports Network, which will be our wrap there for the PGA Championship. And then Greg and I are going to hop on and do a DFS preview for Charles Schwab Challenge, and then we will figure out the rest of the week after that. For now, big thanks to producer Josh, who does all the hard work behind the scenes. That right there is Patrick McDonald. You can find him at P McDonald CBS. Mark Immelman, you can find at Mark_Immelman. Greg DuCharme at The Real GFD. And you can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.